Dear listener, I sincerely wish you happiness, love, and well-being. May your life always be filled with light, and every minute bring you the warmth of your loved ones. If you enjoy my story, please subscribe to my channel. It means the world to me and takes only a few seconds. I still remember the moment when everything around me seemed to freeze as I opened the bedroom door. Before my eyes unfolded a scene so heart-wrenching it threatened to tear me apart. The soft glow of the night lamp played gently on the crisp white sheets, revealing naked bodies stripped of any pretense. Michael, the man with whom I once built my dreams, lay on the bed, his strong, muscular body exposed in every detail. Every line of his physique and every curve spoke of a passion reawakened, though now it was no longer meant for me. His eyes, filled with conflicted emotions, wandered over the body of the woman who lay beside him. That woman, a blonde with refined features and delicate, almost fragile curves, was completely naked. Her skin, as smooth as velvet, shimmered under the soft light, accentuating every contour of her body. I watched as her chest rose and fell in a slow, deliberate rhythm, as her smooth, inviting hips pressed so closely against Michael's body that it seemed as if they merged into one. The scene before me was the embodiment of forbidden pleasure. Michael, with his strong hands, cautiously yet impatiently explored her bare skin as if trying to rediscover long-forgotten secrets of sensuality. In response, the woman responded with quiet, almost weightless moans, filled with passion and, if I could believe it, a trace of her own hidden pain. Every touch, every movement was more than just a physical act. It was a ritual where desire, guilt, and deceit intertwined. I could hear the rustle of their movements blending with the sound of my own quickening breath. In that moment, time stood still, and I became an unwilling witness to the most forbidden performance, where every passing second shattered my heart a little more. I couldn't take my eyes off them, the way tenderness turned into raw passion, how Michael's gentle skin contrasted with the velvet softness of hers. They were opposites, yet together they formed a perfect, heartbreaking whole. Naked and stripped of all masks and pretenses, they revealed every sin and weakness before me. Inside, a storm raged. Anger, despair, and deep sorrow, mixed with an inexplicable curiosity that made my heart beat faster despite the overwhelming sense of hopelessness. A tear rolled down my cheek as I was overwhelmed by thoughts. How could this happen? Our years together, all our dreams, they are dissolving in this moment, turning into a cold reality where passion has become a foreign pleasure. How could I have been so blind, closing my eyes to the signs that now strike me right in the heart? At that moment, I found myself standing alone on the threshold between two worlds, one where love was a sacred gift, and another where betrayal had unfurled its wings. Michael, too, seemed to realize the merciless truth of the situation. His eyes searched for answers, while his lips, once full of promises, now offered only silent apologies, incapable of erasing the pain. The blonde, lost in her own pleasure, saw nothing but the abrupt shattering of her illusions, that happiness belonged solely to one. I heard his quiet, almost timid voice trying to justify himself, but his words were drowned out by the pounding of my broken heart. Every caress, Every movement of their bodies felt both sinful and inevitable. In that room, filled with the scent of heated skin and a faint trace of perfume, I was no longer merely an onlooker. I was part of the destruction of everything that once seemed unbreakable. I stood there, as if turned to stone, trying to collect my thoughts, while inside me a tempest was tearing my dreams into a million pieces. The naked bodies of Michael and the blonde, entwined in a passionate embrace, appeared as fragments of another world, a world where my feelings held no power. It wasn't just a physical union. It was a betrayal that sobered me to my very core, leaving a wound from which no solace could emerge. As I watched their uncontrolled intimacy, I realized our life, our love, had been nothing more than an illusion, a mirage easily dispelled by a harsh reality. Yet, even in that moment of agony, I found within me the strength to ask, how long can one continue to feel when even the strongest emotions turn into excruciating pain? Hours after that dreadful moment of betrayal, trembling from the cold and the emptiness within, I found myself at my sister's house. Wrapped in a warm blanket and surrounded by her care, I tried to calm the storm of emotions tearing me apart. Every minute felt like an eternity, and my thoughts kept returning to that day when everything had seemed like a fairy tale. I remember it as clearly as if it were yesterday. 10 years ago, in a small, cozy cafe where I celebrated my birthday with friends, I first laid eyes on Michael. The warm atmosphere, the aroma of freshly brewed coffee, and the soft laughter of my friends created an almost magical ambiance. In that moment, I had no inkling that fate was already weaving invisible threads to bind our lives together. Michael appeared in my view wearing a white shirt, his hair casually tousled, and with such a sincere smile that my heart skipped a beat. He approached our table and, with a mix of hesitation and determination, offered to pay for our meal in honor of my birthday. His words were warm and inviting. "Tatiana, let me make your day even brighter." At that moment, I felt a spark ignite within me, a spark foretelling the changes to come. We talked for a long time, laughing and sharing our dreams. I listened to him, breath held, as if his eyes contained the entire universe. Every word he spoke, every glance he gave, promised that something amazing and genuine awaited us. Our early dates were filled with lightness and wonder. We strolled through the evening city, hand in hand, as if the whole world belonged only to us. I still remember the gentle breeze that played with my hair, and his warm hand shielding me from the cold reality outside. It seemed that nothing could ever dim that moment, neither time nor worries, nor even the future. We dreamed of the future, made plans, and imagined what our home would look like. A place where children would play outside the windows, and where we would grow old together, cherishing the sincerity that united our hearts. I believed that our love was an eternal flame, one capable of dispelling any darkness. Yet even then, tiny sparks of doubt began to flicker. Michael sometimes returned home late. His eyes would grow distant, and his tone slightly detached. I tried to convince myself that these were mere coincidences, minor flaws that couldn't destroy what we had so tenderly built. But my heart, intuitively sensing something amiss, began to question. Was I too naive? Were his promises nothing more than beautiful words? Over time, those small doubts transformed into relentless, nagging concerns. I recalled evenings when Michael left without explanation, when his gaze suddenly turned cold. A creeping fear took root within me. Every late-night call, every flimsy excuse echoed in my soul, causing my heart to contract with uncertainty. One evening, as the moon illuminated the quiet streets, I sat alone in our home, trying to piece together every detail in search of an answer. Where did you lose yourself? Those moments were filled not only with silence, but with internal dialogues where I blamed myself for being too naive and overly trusting. I often wondered, how can one keep ignoring the signs? What could I have done differently? These painful reflections taught me that love is not just about joy. It's also a trial where trust plays a decisive role. It seemed that every minor inconsistency, every stray glance, was a harbinger of something I had desperately hoped to avoid. Sitting in my sister's warm kitchen, I tried to recall those moments when Michael had promised that our love would be eternal. His supportive, tender words had once been a lifeline in that turbulent ocean of emotions. He spoke of the importance of being honest, of not being afraid to reveal our true feelings, and of cherishing every moment together. But now, after witnessing such unimaginable betrayal, even those memories stung. I struggled to understand how one could forgive, how one could ever trust again when every memory felt like a knife in the back. My mind was torn between past and the harsh reality of the present. At that moment, my sister, noticing the tears in my eyes, gently said, "Tatiana, your strength lies in your ability to love with all your heart. But first, learn to love yourself. Only then will you find the path to healing." Her caring, understanding words resonated deep within me. I realized that despite all the pain, a spark still flickered inside. A spark capable of igniting hope. Perhaps through pain one gains wisdom, and through trials learns to appreciate even the smallest moments of happiness. In the dim light of a small living room, I began to whisper to myself, trying to muster the strength for a new beginning. Maybe it's time to let go of this burden of betrayal. Perhaps the pain I feel is not the end, but the beginning of something new. I no longer want to live in the shadow of the past. I long to see the light in my eyes again, to hear laughter filled with genuine joy. But how can I trust again when my faith has been so shattered? How can I forgive when every memory feels like a stab in the back? Those thoughts, filled with doubt and sorrow, gradually gave way to a quiet resolve. I understood that though I carried a heavy burden, I had to learn that love starts with loving oneself. Only by forgiving myself could I find the strength to forgive him, and perhaps, in time, rediscover happiness. Dear listener, if you're still with me, know that my story is far from over. Behind these memories lie new challenges, fresh revelations, and perhaps even a chance at redemption. Thank you for staying with me through these difficult moments of my tale. In the next parts, I will share how my premonitions became reality, how that fateful day unfolded, and what choices I had to make in order to rediscover myself. Waking up the next morning, I felt as if the darkness of the night had not receded, but had instead deepened within me. The soft light of dawn tried to break through the curtains, yet its warmth couldn't thaw the ice that had settled in my heart. Sitting at the table with a strong cup of coffee, I attempted to gather the shattered fragments of my thoughts, remembering that terrible evening when everything changed forever. My hands trembled as I approached the closed bedroom door, the very door behind which had unfolded the scene capable of altering our world just yesterday. I knew that today we had to talk, to address what could no longer be ignored. Anxious yet determined, I opened the door, and there stood Michael, looking worn and lost. His eyes, full of regret and fear, sought forgiveness, a forgiveness I wasn't sure I could offer. "Michael," I said in a cold, nearly unrecognizable voice, "explain to me, how did this happen? How did we come to this point when everything I once believed in seemed unbreakable?" His voice trembled under the weight of guilt. "Tatiana, I don't know what to say. It was a mistake I tried so long to hide." But his words felt empty, like an echo reverberating off cold walls. My heart pounded, and in my mind I heard a cry. How could you? How could you destroy everything we built?" I stepped back, feeling each word tear me apart from within. In my mind, a storm of thoughts raged. How long could I have lived in this deception? How many times did I close my eyes, believing in a fairy tale that turned out to be nothing but an illusion? Every excuse, every attempt to justify his behavior sounded like a futile justification, incapable of mending the wounds. Michael spoke of his natural instincts as the cause of his shortcomings, but to me, those words were nothing more than a cold echo of someone else's pain. "I'm tired," I continued, my voice trembling with mounting tears. "I'm tired of being the one who endures, who clings to hope no matter what. I'm tired of discovering that our trust was merely an illusion, and that our love is nothing more than a shadow of the past." In that moment, a painful decision began to take shape. A choice between remaining in a world tainted by betrayal or summoning the strength to forgive, perhaps someday restoring the lost trust. This decision was a trial, for it demanded not only the acknowledgement of betrayal, but also the recognition of my own vulnerabilities. Inside, a familiar inner voice began to speak. Could this be a chance to start anew? Perhaps if I forgive him, not for his sake but for my own, I can find a path to new happiness. Or is forgiveness merely an illusion, prolonging a chain of suffering? I remembered my sister's words echoing in my heart. "Tatiana, your strength lies in your ability to love with all your heart. But first, learn to love yourself." Those words resonated deeply. I knew that the decision I made would shape the rest of my life. Forgiveness does not mean forgetting. It means accepting the pain and finding a way to move forward despite it. "Michael," I whispered, barely audible, "I don't know if I can forgive you, but I promise myself that I won't let this pain destroy me. I promise to love myself, even if that means leaving the past behind." For a fleeting moment, hope flickered in his eyes, as if there were a chance to reignite the light between us. Yet that light was fragile, a thin thread stretched over the ruins of our shattered dreams. After that conversation, I decided not to rush into immediate reconciliation, but to give myself time to reflect and heal. I couldn't instantly believe that a love scarred by such pain could shine again. Yet within me, the idea took root. If I could forgive not for him, but for myself, perhaps I could find the strength to pursue new happiness. I realized I needed to leave our home for a while, away from painful memories, to rebuild my strength. My son, who had witnessed so many changes, needed my care and affection, and I couldn't allow his world to crumble alongside ours. We moved in with a close friend, and in the quiet of that new place, I slowly began to let go of the pain, pondering what true love really meant and how vital it is to love oneself first. Every evening, as darkness fell and only the soft light of a lamp illuminated my thoughts, I would ask myself, what matters more? Forgetting or learning to live with the pain? How can I accept what happened and find the strength to move on? My internal dialogues were fraught with contradictions, and I knew that the path to healing would be long and arduous. Yet, in those solitary moments, I rediscovered an inner strength, a strength that had always been there, even if I had temporarily lost sight of it. In time, small moments of joy began to break through the veil of sorrow. The gentle laughter of my son, the warmth of the morning sun, even the aroma of freshly baked bread drifting from the neighboring kitchen, all reminded me that life goes on despite hardship. I learned to find solace in the little things and slowly regained my belief that happiness was possible even after the deepest betrayals. Michael tried to atone for his guilt. He brought flowers, wrote letters, and attempted to explain his behavior. Yet every gesture left a bitter aftertaste, a reminder that some wounds cannot be healed by a simple apology. His efforts were like a soft murmur amid a raging storm, unable to silence the roar of betrayal echoing within me. Now, sitting on the balcony of my new home as the sun slowly rose over the horizon, I contemplated the future. Although our story was steeped in pain and betrayal, it had taught me to cherish moments of joy, to love myself, and to understand that even the deepest wounds may harbor the seeds of a new beginning. When I looked in the mirror, I no longer saw the wounded woman I once was, but a strong, wise soul who had emerged from the crucible of trials and learned to forgive. I now understand that forgiveness isn't a gift for the other person. It's a gift I give myself, allowing my heart to beat freely and truly once again. Everything happens for the best, my heart whispers, reminding me that every moment, every tear, and every breath has been part of a grand journey that has brought me here, to this new beginning. Thank you, dear listener, for walking with me on this long journey, a path filled with pain, doubts, hope, and ultimately, rebirth. Thank you for finding the strength to listen to my story, where every line is a cry from the soul and every pause carries the promise of a new start. I wish you a life filled with forgiveness, self-love, and hope for a brighter future. May your heart never freeze with fear, and may every wound transform into a source of strength and wisdom. Love, forgive, and remember, after the longest night, the dawn is sure to come. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel so you won't miss new stories. Stories full of life, genuine emotions, and the lessons that fate brings. May every day bring you light, joy, and true happiness.